Ok, hola, hola, hola y bienvenidos a otro video para más gramática. ¡Woohoo! Alright chicos, hoy nosotros vamos a enfocarnos en el pretérito irregular. Ya aprendimos el pretérito regular. Aprendimos este o amos estáis aron y este y o imos estáis hieron, cargar dar y los verbos ir, ser, dar, ver, los verbos gemelos. Remember, we need to have a solid foundation on the regular preterite before we can start throwing a wrench in it with these irregular verbs. If you're not feeling solid on your regular preterite yet, I need you to go back and watch that video. Look at your notes again. Practice on conjugemos. Okay, practice those conjugations on conjugemos. That is the best thing you can do. This is just a lot of memorization. The preterite is a lot, and it's not something that's conceptually difficult. It's something that's really difficult to memorize. So it's really a matter of the amount of time you put in working to memorize is what you're going to get out of this. Okay, that's going to become even more important as we add in some irregular verbs here. The preterite is a beast. There are a lot of irregulars. We're going to chunk them up today and learn them in 4 categories. This is not something that you are going to have mastered at the end of this video. This is something you need to practice. The first step is going to be that you can conjugate it in writing, in isolation. The second step is going to be that you're able to conjugate it in your writing when you're writing an extended discourse, like a paragraph or a response to something. The last place it's going to come where you're going to master it is going to be in your speaking. So we need to really think about these conjugations as we go through all of our class activities, okay? Allow yourself to slow down. Allow yourself to think through this process because your brain is going to default to the present tense. And that's okay. That's normal. That's what your brain has learned the best so far. You've learned it the most. But now we're taking it a step further. It's not just what's my subject, what's my verb conjugate. It's my subject, my verb, and what tense am I conjugating in. And that adds in a whole new layer. So this is really important. Please be studying these conjugations 5 to 10 minutes a day. It will make such a difference in your proficiency growth and your ability to speak in different time frames. To speak, write, read, listen, all of that good stuff in different time frames. Okay, vamos a empezar. El primer grupo de verbos, que son verbos del pretérito irregular. And let's make sure we get our terminology straight. Today we are talking irregular preterite. You're going to hear me use the word stem a lot. These are not stem changers. These are irregular preterite. We'll learn stem changers later. Okay, so irregular preterite. Our first group, we've got U stems. Tenemos andar, to walk. This might be a verb that you don't know. If you don't know that andar is to walk, if you didn't see that verb and automatically know it, I want you to type that in your notes or write it if you're handwriting. I want to make sure that you know that andar is to walk. Estar, to be, condition, location. Poder, to be able to. Poner, to put or place. Those two get mixed up a lot. Be really careful there. Saber, significa to know facts or information. En el pretérito significa found out. Like I found out the truth. Y tener, to have. I'm going to show you what these U stems look like, and then we'll talk about how to use them to conjugate. Okay. La raíz para andar es anduv. Para estar, estuve. Para poder, pude. Poner, pus. Saber, soup. You can think I found out what the soup of the day was. Y tener, tuve. These are my stems that I'm going to use to conjugate these verbs in the preterite. Now I take my stem and I'm going to add an ending. I'm going to have the same endings for all of these verbs. Las terminaciones son e, iste, o, imos, isteis, eran. Now, it does not matter that I've got AR verbs up here and I've got ER verbs. AR, ER for irregulars does not matter. I am using these same endings, no matter if this is an AR or ER, because these are irregular U-stem verbs. To conjugate the verb, I take the stem and I take the appropriate ending, put them together, and there's my verb. So I walked. Yo is the A. So anduve, anduve. You were. Estuviste, estuviste. Put your stem and your ending, your correct ending together, and there's your verb. Go ahead and do these practices with our U-stem verbs. Ok, ahora vamos a aprender los verbos I-stem. Tenemos querer, venir y hacer. Querer, to want or to love. Venir, to come. Hacer, to do or make. Now, hacer is a double irregular. We'll get to that one in a second. Nuestra raíz para querer es quis. Para venir, vin. Y para hacer, is. Now, same thing, same set of endings. Go ahead and write that same set of endings in the ending box for these I-stem verbs. They are the exact same as the U-stem endings. Those have not changed. Great news. Now, I did tell you that hacer is double irregular. In the ella usted form, your stem will be is with a Z. So actually, I could even write that on there for you. Hizo. Okay. So hacer, if you're looking for more clarification, would be hice, hiciste, hizo, hicimos, hicisteis, hicieron. Todas las formas tienen C, pero el ella usted tiene Z, a Z. If you are a Jay-Z fan, you may be familiar with the song H to the Izzo. If you're not, I'm aging myself. That was a popular song back when I was in high school. And that's how I like to remember. Hizo, H to the Izzo. Okay, ahora ustedes pueden hacer prácticas con estos verbos aquí. All right. Hicimos dos, tenemos dos más, dos categorías más de verbos irregulares. Ahora tenemos los verbos J-stem con la raíz J. Take a look. We've got decir, which is to say or to tell, is going to be dich. Dich. Traer, to bring. Traj. Y los verbos que terminan en se y r también tienen J. So, por ejemplo, conducir, which means to drive, conduj. Traducir, which is to translate, traduj. Okay, these CIR verbs will end in that J as well. Las terminaciones son muy similares. They're going to look so similar to the first two categories. There is one tiny exception, but it is important. All right, so la forma yo, eso es igual. Iste, igual. O, igual. Imos, igual. Isteis, igual. So far, everything is the same as it was for our U stems and our I stems. This box down here is going to be our exception. Instead of ieron, we just have eron. Okay, so it's dijeron, trajeron, etc., not dijeron. We form these verbs the same way. Take your stem, take the appropriate ending, put them together to conjugate your verb. Ahora pueden practicar con los verbos J. Okay. La última categoría de verbos irregulares del pretérito son los verbos karate chop. You'll see why we call them karate chop in just a second. It's just a little bit of a joke. So, tenemos oír, to hear, not to be confused with escuchar, to listen. Son diferentes. So, oír, to hear, leer, to read, y también otros verbos que terminan en ER, como creer, to believe, también funciona así. Y verbos UIR, construir, destruir, distribuir, etc. Aquí tenemos las terminaciones. Tenemos iste, yo, imos, isteis, ieron. These get the name karate chop because we like you to think haya and with the yo. Yo. Hay acentos en todas las formas, menos ellos, ellas, ustedes. Okay, hay acento, 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 acento. So, por ejemplo, podemos conjugar, oír, oí, oíste, oyó, oímos, oísteis, oyeron. Leer es igual. Leí, leíste, I would take off the ER, just like I would with a normal conjugation. Okay. Ahora ustedes pueden practicar estos verbos, la última categoría. Ok, yo sé que esto fue mucho. Hay muchísimos verbos irregulares que necesitamos memorizar. My best tips for you guys. Number one, spend 5 to 10 minutes every single day looking at these verbs. And not just looking, but doing something active, conjugating these verbs. Looking at your notes is very passive. You want to make sure you're doing something active. 2 ideas. Use conjuguemos.com or escribir las conjugaciones. So write your conjugations out on a piece of paper, on a whiteboard, whatever the case may be. There's a big connection between your handwriting and your brain activating. So those are 2 really great, concrete, active ways to study these verbs. Just looking at your notes is not enough. Also, when we're doing activities in class, make sure you use those notes. There is no shame. Check your ego at the door. Use those notes. Make sure that as we're learning, as we're practicing using these verbs, that you're doing it correctly. Si se puede, you got this. It is a lot to memorize. You're going to be great. Okay? Adiós. Gracias por ver el video del pretérito irregular.